Hi everybody, it's me Legardo Laxon, also known as Chino and Artie. Forgive my look right now. It's October 30th, Halloween Eve, okay? Prepping up my costume. Basically, I'm gonna be Robo Artie. Yeah, I'm gonna put a bit of inspiration I got from Robocop and my inspiration of making myself for it, you know? So, yes, I'm gonna be my character. So, I'm actually gonna show a video how I look like in Halloween. Okay, now this review I'm going to be talking about, I'm going to grab it right now, Robocop 3. I'm not going to be talking about the Shout Factory special features, but I'm going to talk about the review of the movie itself. I want to say out of 10, and I was already like, I believe I was 13 years old when I saw this film. And of course, Robocop is already a household name, and also for... he's actually, one of those, that situation when you're saying that, hey, he's, what do you call it, a role model to children. But, this film, I give it, it sounds funny, I give it an 8 out of 10. To me, I think this is more watchable than the second film. Because, one, I know Edward Neumeier, the writer, does not approve about the gun arm. He does not approve about the flight pack. And think about it, the Robocop films... This is before the MCU, so if you think about it, Robocop was not even based on a comic book. It's based on the writer Ed Neumeier's inspiration from Philip K. Dick's, previous movies like Blade Runner, and a little bit of Japanese anime. If you watch the Joru Sentai the Sentai, like Power Ranger type of shows that they have in Japan. So they made an American. What made Robocop very popular, especially in Japan, is the visor of his helmet. Sometimes they just call him the bucket head as a joke. But, I really like Robocop 3 compared to Robocop 2. Robocop 1 is a classic, the 1987 release, but I do not like Robocop 2 was bad. And also, the great part about this film is directed by the great Fred Dekker. Yes, Fred Dekker is one of the most underrated but cult-following directors because he directed Night of the Creeps and also... the film The Monster Squad, and he's a great writer, but yet I do not blame him. During this, the Shout Factory, he blames himself of all what's going on. I don't blame him because I actually accuse Orion for their fault. Why would I accuse Orion for how this film ended up being? One, they really want to push production right after the film was released in the summer for the second film. And now they're really pushing on making it. And then they're already going through bankruptcy and money problems on their studio to the point where now they're already in production. They're forcing a rated R director, which is, he did Night of the Creeps. And he knows how to do films great, Monster Squad, making, like, for example, the title character will be the title character, but it's like they put him on the side a little bit to put more screen time among other characters. If you watch Night of the Creeps, you'll notice that about the main character to the point where it was the police officer to the teenagers. Just like this film is the same way. I'll go there about that, and then when I say about Robert Burke, okay. He did a great job in this film as Robocop, I gotta say, but it's just his voice was just too much. He almost has the resemblance when he has his mask off. But they tried their best. But when I say I blame Orion for how this film turned out to be, I was already confused when I go to Blockbuster. Yes, Blockbuster. Yes, I still have my membership card till now. I was walking around the video game section, and I can't even play Nintendo games because I have a Famicom, and because I was raised in the Philippines and I had my Famicom, I saw a Robocop 3 video game. And the funny thing is the game came out before the movie. Even action figures. I actually bought the action figures, and they were released by Toy Island. And I even have the changeable arms from the same size compared to the Kenner toys. And this time you actually get to own the Robocop toy. You know what I mean? Not the Kenner lineup. It's so hard to get a hold of Robocop. They have a bunch of lineup of Ann Lewis and all the bad guys, but you don't get really much of the good guys. It's really hard to get a hold of them. But this time you do. But what's going on? Where's the movie? It was not out yet. the movie was shelved for a year. Yes, you gotta blame Orion. They were going through a lot of financial situation. They made a lot of Oscar-winning films like Dancing with Wolves, Silence of the Lamb, you know, and also Orion just currently released during that time. I think it was very hard to, this is a rare VHS copy, a clamshell cover of the widescreen VHS. Yes, they actually have a widescreen release, and also the filtering seems to be more orangey and brownish when you watch it because it's a remastered version, but it's just the R-rated, which I prefer. And also I blame Orion to make it kid friendly, because look what happened to Robocop. It's Fred Decker did his best because Orion's focusing to make it a PG-13 film. And guess what? I gotta say, he did a great job. He was doing his best. There's nothing wrong much about what he did here. It's just the script was falling apart. It's so ahead of its time. I like saying that word because he is ahead of his time on directing films, especially Frank Miller, the story is based on Frank Miller, not Edward Neumeier. I mean, rousting people out of their homes. I mean, is that kind of like what's going on today? Trump was known for that in the past, to make space for his Taj Mahal or whatever casino in Atlantic City. And just to say, you know, this is situations that's very hard to direct, and especially for a children film, you know, like, I mean, PG-13 film, you know what I mean? I mean, you're gonna see kids want to watch this, and there's action figures, and I think that's their gimmick. Orion tried to flow and put in video games that came out every system. Super Nintendo, what else? Sega Genesis came out later on along with the Game Gear, Sega Master Edition, all Robocop 3, and the crazy part is the game was super hard. And Robocop 3 on SNES was the first $9.99 game to be a bargain game after a year later. You know, it was the first game to have a cartridge from Super Nintendo for $9.99. Yes, no joke. Brand new in KB Toys. And like I said, like, they put a lot of screen time for characters like Bertha or Dr. Lazarus, which is more features in the comic book. And they actually released a 3-part Dark Horse series, you know, based on the film. It's a movie adaptation for it, which I have complete in my collection. But I still gave, you know, like, I gave that score. And I gotta say, this film was, even the title, it says, back online, back on duty. No, that was false. He's always been online, okay? And from the second film, why did they make children be criminals? I gotta blame that, because the second film had a 12-year-old boy saying the F word, and you have a group of other kids in a minor league robbing an electronics store, and then he also came across kids just, you know, having a good time with a fire hydrant, and then it makes them look bad. At least this film had a little girl who's half Japanese, half Caucasian, who's a computer whiz. And you know what? Not a lot of, I mean, like I said, these films, Robocop is very ahead of its time. And now these days, you're gonna see kids with cell phones or laptops walking around with them, and going to school with laptops. Like the first film, second film. Look what year it was released and made. Just imagine when it was written and filming. Look at it today. It's very basically much today. And looking at Detroit now these days, look just like how it is now, you know, in the film, you know. And you can't blame Mayor Bing, who didn't want the statue of Robocop watching old Detroit, which Detroit was known as Motor City, capital of the world. And yeah, but after this film's release, they came out with Robocop the series, starring Richard Eden. And Richard Eden is a great actor that did Robocop. Well, it's based on Fireworks Entertainment from Canada. It's a Canadian show style. You can tell it's filmed in Toronto or Ontario, Canada, because of how cold it is. And also, I just want to say it was a great show. I have the whole complete box set, which I'll make review later on. And after the release of this film, like I say, he's gonna be more of a, you know, role model to children. They made another TV show, cartoon-based, Robocop Alpha Commando. And I actually have the toys. I don't know where I put them, but yeah. And I just want to say, the Alpha Commando show was really, really faithful to the '89 series. You know, it seemed like it took place right after the 1989 cartoon. And then when you look at the Robocop, the series that stars Richard Eden, it takes place, and they ignored what happened from the second and third film. Basically, this guy disappeared. So I just want to say this film it's all right for children, you know? I mean, it's more watchable than the second, you know? And if you think about it. But I'm a big Robocop fan. And of course, in this film, it actually showed him kind of had burnt up. And he's all like, when he was burnt up, you can tell there's an error in his system when he said, "Thank you, Anne. Thank you for asking." Or like how he said it, like, "I'm fine, Anne. Thank you for asking." Because you could see, what do you call it? He's not in his mental state when he talks to Lewis. And speaking about Lewis, I mean, Nancy Allen's character was killed off. I don't know why would they do that. That was her partner. That was his partner, and there's not much of him doing really much revenge until later on in the film, because there's so many screen time for these other actors. And the other actors, if you watch in this film, have successful careers after this film. They still have great works. I mean, you know, like Moreno, they got Dr. Lazarus or Bertha. The characters, they were doing great films after this film was released. But Fred Decker disappeared. He hadn't made another movie until he helped co-written with Shane Black, which those two are obviously friends. You actually get a short glimpse of Shane Black, the director of Iron Man 3. That's how you guys know him as, or even The Predator. Shane Black was also in The Predator, the first film, as Hawkins. And you'll also see him in this movie as one of the cops in the beginning. There's two cops that rolled with Lewis in the donut shop. So that's Shane Black, and what do you call it? You also see Shane Black in what's that called, Night of the Creeps, as a short cameo, walking as a police officer. So yeah, you got to see the connections, and I gotta say this film is great. I mean, in every turn, every way. I mean, it's better than the second, but I always say the first one's still a classic. And this is before the MCU, and of course, a little bit of influence of Iron Man and this and stuff. And then Iron Man, the movie, had influence on filmmaking. Get it? They had comics that influenced them to really make the Robocop film. Then they have, what do you call it, a film that influenced them to make a comic book movie. So remember that. Even John Fairview, who directed the first Iron Man, admitted that on his Wizard magazine interview that I read in the past about it. Well, Iron Man is an alcoholic. Yeah. Me, I'm a chain smoker. But just want to say that this film is decent, and go get yourself the Shout Factory. If not, you can find it in the bargain bin. I don't know. I mean, this film is not bad at all. I mean, the ninjas, I gotta say that actor, Bruce Law, not Bruce Lee, I mean Law, he portrayed as Shang Tsung in Mortal Kombat Conquest TV series, and he had other works too, because he is a tall Asian male that Fred Decker did his best, like, try to make a Jackie Chan type, you know, first time you want to see Robocop trying to do a punch and kick or something like that, but it was hard for him to figure it out. So there's three ninjas that has that silly grin, you know, and yeah, Fred Decker knows how to direct a film that puts the title role of the character and puts him on the side for a moment to put screen time for the sub characters as well as the supporting actors and actresses. And there's a lot of characters in this film. Now, the only returning cast that you'll see in this film is Nancy Ellen, the African American guy that played Sergeant Reed, and the other African American guy who plays as Johnson. This time Johnson's more of an antagonist, because in the first two films he's not. He's actually one of the partner. He's the partner of Bob Morton, of the character who created Robocop. Now, who's gonna support Robocop in the end of the film? To kind of vice versa, the first film. Nice shooting, son. What's your name? Murphy. And the crowd will go rawr. In this film, what did I tell you? With Rip Torn, the actor who plays as Sherman. What is that they call you? Murphy, is it? And he has a little smile, a little chuckle to him. And then, my friends call me Murphy. You call me Robocop. And his voice was so over the top. Not that Peter Weller style where he does, dead or alive, you're coming with me. But in this one, he's more like, dead or alive, you're coming with me. When he finally faced that actor, I think he's British, I don't know, but he keeps saying chum. I mean, you hear Bub from Wolverine, but this film is alright, so that's all I could say. And all the toys that they already distribute. I mean, look, they distributed it everywhere. The first Robocop 3 toy I got was from Fedco, and that's a long time ago. So I don't know if you know about that store here in Southern California. And then you'll see it, different kinds of Toy Island Robocop. The company's called Toy Island that distributes all the Robocop toys after Kenner. So, and then after Marvel Comics turning Robocop into a comic book figure, Dark Horse Comics came out with a lot of Robocop series like Robocop Prime Directives, and they even made if you watch Robocop the series, one of the comic books that's based on is inspired, called Prime Suspects. I'm sorry, Prime Suspects. Check out that episode; it's exactly the same screenplay. And there's also Robocop Roulette. There's also Robocop Motor Coils. There was so many different kind of series that Dark Horse produced, but mini series that's only ranging from 1 to 4 comics. That's it, you know. And I would like to end this review. Just want to say that I give this a good 8 out of 10, and it's better than Robocop 2. It's more watchable. The only thing that was a little corny was him on the flight pack, and the gun arm is the part that really attracted me to go watch this film. But the story and seeing Lewis die was just like, oh, that's heartbreaking. But especially in the Catholic Church, you know, and I was like, whoa. That kind of reminded me of Spider-Man 3 right there a little bit, you know. And then if you play the video game, it's super hard, but I actually beat it without cheat codes. And then finally, Part 2 and 3 has special features because they came out with like 3 trilogy box sets, then the Blu-ray box sets, and you always get features on this first film, but not the second and third. Now Shout Factory finally will give you a glimpse, and I would like to even thank the people who's developing the RoboDoc, the creation of Robocop documentary. I wish I'll be in it because me and James Gandy, who is from Canada, and I've been living here in Riverside, California since when I communicated with him around 1994 when America Online was around, and we were the ones making Robocop Central before Robocop Archive. And some of our images, we can take it. Come on, whoever is in charge of Robocop Archive. But thank you guys for watching, and I wish you guys happy Halloween and safe trick-or-treating for the young ones, and watch your children. Trust me, I gotta go watch a bunch of my cousins over there, so I'll be trick-or-treating with them. But I hope I get some candy too. Say, are you too old enough? I look too young for my age, supposedly, because I'm already 36. But thank you guys for watching, and stay tuned for my other review on Robocop, the series. Then I'm going to be talking about the remake. I'm going to be talking about the remake between Elysium, because there was a conflict during that situation about Elysium. And speaking about Elysium, the director of Elysium, District 9, including Chappie, you know, those films, that director is interested of making the true sequel to the third film. I hope that works out right, because Ed Neumeyer is writing a new script. Thank you guys for watching.